It's a big day for us here on the Wood TV Plus digital studio because we have Mr. Ryan Bowen joining us. Now he has been recently named the new head coach of the Grand Rapids Gold, getting set for the 2025-2026 season. Coach, thank you so much for being here. It is an honor to have you on today.
Thank you. It's great. It's great to be with you.
Of course, and, obviously still kind of new as far as the news coming down that you will be taking over the helm for the Gold. Kind of walk us through when you first kind of accepted this job and this new role. I mean, what was that sort of like after coming from being an assistant for so many years with the Denver Nuggets?
Yeah, it's an exciting opportunity for me. Obviously, the end of our last year was pretty crazy with the turnover, the coaching change right before the playoffs, and kind of the run we made during the playoffs. The season was over, and just kind of reorganizing things, knowing there was going to be some change. Some coaches stayed, some left, and when the opportunity presented itself, to become the head coach of the Gold, it was really exciting for me. Initially, I think there was a little bit, I'm not sure that's what I want to do. But the more I thought about it, I just thought it was such a great opportunity for me to have an opportunity to be a head coach, to still be within the Nuggets organization, but more importantly, to be in Grand Rapids with the Gold. I've gotten to know some people with the Gold over the years, and to me, it was just kind of a no-brainer with the synergy with the Nuggets and Grand Rapids, and to having a chance to be a head coach was really excited for me.
Well, that was going to be kind of my next question for you, Coach, was that obviously we love being here in Grand Rapids, but what was it about being in Grand Rapids and the Gold itself that kind of drew you? Was it that experience that you had working with the Nuggets, or maybe you've been to Grand Rapids before and really kind of fell in love with the city here?
Well, I can honestly say I've never been to Grand Rapids.
Really? Okay.
So I am looking forward to getting out there. The Grand Rapids, the Gold people are constantly saying, "Hey, you got to get out here," and so you can at least see the place. Just hearing from other coaches and players that have been a part of our organization with the Nuggets talk about how great the setup is, how wonderful the fans are, how welcoming the fans are, and just in general how well the Gold run the organization. Is something that was always in the back of my head. Like, they must know what they're doing, over there. And, so I'm really anxious to get out there. I think having the synergy with the Nuggets, I think they want it to be, a more minor league type thing where, guys can come freely back and forth. Obviously, it's a little tougher. Most NBA teams, most G League teams are in the same city or close proximity. So us is a little different, a little unique in that we're so far away. So hopefully I can be able to kind of bridge that gap to make it seem a little more as one, and hopefully that's kind of our goal moving forward.
Well, we got to get you out here to Grand Rapids at least before the winter and the fall starts. Again, Grand Rapids in the summer. As a transplant myself to Grand Rapids, you definitely want to be here in the summer. That's probably the best time to be in Grand Rapids. But Coach,
they tell me the winters are beautiful there.
Oh, they're beautiful. They're just cold. I mean, probably coming from Denver, you maybe are a little bit more used to it than I was. I was coming from Alabama, totally different
Okay,
culture.
no, everybody definitely tells me I need to get there in the fall, so we're gonna make the point to get out there, check things out before the winter hits.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, and Coach, for people that maybe don't know a little bit about your background, you spent time in the NBA actually as a player before shifting to the coaching realm. And I guess that's kind of where I want to take this next question is, what was it about your time in the NBA, spending so much time? You were at Iowa too for college. What was coaching something that was always kind of in the back of your mind? When my playing career's over, that's something I want to pivot towards, or was that something that maybe came during your time playing in the NBA?
Really my last, when I was in college, I had a really good relationship with my college coaches, and I always thought it'd be really neat to get into coaching, to help kids. I really thought I wanted to be a high school or college coach, just because I had such strong relationships with those coaches, both in high school and in college. And then, when you're playing in the NBA, you're playing, and you don't really think much about it. I'd say the last couple years when I was playing, I realized the end was coming and what was going to be next for me. And so I thought of two things. I thought of being a coach, and I thought about being an NBA official. And I talked to a bunch of different NBA officials, and then I talked to a bunch of different coaches, and I decided to go the coaching route, and I'm glad I did. I often talk to some of those officials who I talked to about being an official, and they said I definitely picked the right profession going forward. I do enjoy officiating. I did my share of officiating in practice over the years, so I do enjoy that. But no, my last couple of years decided to get into coaching. Right when I was finished playing that same season, there was a coaching change at the University of Iowa, and I got on staff there with Fran McCaffrey as the video coordinator. So that kind of got my foot in the door. I was there a year and a half before I got on with George Karl with the Nuggets. Kind of a crazy roundabout way. Go to Sacramento with Coach Malone. Coach Malone comes back to Denver, and I stay in Denver for 10 years. So, overall, I've been a part of the Nuggets organization as a player and a coach, close to 17 years. And I had some stops in some other cities as a player. And like I said, with my one stop as a coach in Sacramento as well.
Mhm. And what is it about the Nuggets organization as a whole that has kept you or wanted you to just really stay a part of the team? Whether it's been in the NBA ranks or now in the G League. I mean, the organization as a whole, I mean, you would probably put that as tops in the entirety of all of maybe major sports here in the US.
Well, I just think my familiarity, first of all, with the city, it was a great place for me to raise my family. I was very fortunate to get all my kids through high school. And just I think that familiarity, a lot of the same people were still in the front office or in the office, I should say, when I was a player. So when I was coming back as a coach, a lot of familiar faces, and it was just an easy transition to get into coaching. And quite honestly, we've been really good the last few years. Obviously, winning a championship a couple years ago, to see how we built the Nuggets. You look at what it started like 10 years ago when Coach Malone, took over the team. It happened to be Nikola's rookie year, Nikola Jokic. So to get to see him grow and develop as a player to one of the best players in the world has been a lot of fun. We've been very, very fortunate, to have some very successful seasons. And so it's still great to be a part of this organization and now kind of turning the page, leaving the Nuggets and joining the Gold, still kind of under the same umbrella, but to get out on my own and see what I can do running a team is really exciting for me.
And I'm glad that you mentioned Nikola Jokic because that was a question I did want to ask you because he's always in the headlines for doing something goofy. He just seems like an overall very silly kind of guy, despite being probably the best player in the entire NBA. What is he like? I guess at practice more specifically, times when we normal folks don't really get the chance to see how he acts. I mean, what is it like kind of being there and kind of watching his stardom just rise year after year?
Yeah, Nicole is great. Nicole is the best. He's a great guy, both on and off the court. He's serious when he's working. He's at the gym. He's getting his work in. You don't want to mess with him when he's doing his like pre-practice workouts and post game lifts and stuff like that. But you'll see him before the game joking around, even during the game, joking around, and a lot of bus trips. He happens to sit next to me on the bus, or I sit next to him, however you want to look at it. For the last 10 years, I told him he's gonna be lonely without me sitting on the bus with him on all of our bus trips. But he's a great guy. Just to see his growth, a wonderful family, and obviously excited to see what he has done, and to be a little small part of that has really been special.
hmm And obviously, you're getting ready for your first year coaching in the G League, but you spent well over a decade coaching in the NBA ranks. I mean, as far as going into this upcoming season, what do you think is going to be that biggest difference or that biggest change that you're going to have to make to your coaching style or really your preparation going into the G League coming from the NBA?
Well, I just think, finding my voice. I've always been the assistant coach. I coached summer league for the Nuggets, 3 summers ago. But that was like 5 or 6 games, and so just finding that voice, my style, things like that. I think, from a preparation standpoint, being assistant has really helped me get to the point to I know what it's going to take from a preparation standpoint of being ready for games, being ready for practices. I've had a big part of planning a lot of different things. It's just a little different when you're the head guy. And so I learned that, when I was the summer league head coach. And so really the last 3 years since doing that, I've really kind of been working towards this saying, all right, this is what I would have to do if I were in that situation. And I often say that I've had a lot of what if situations. If I was the head coach, how would I handle this situation? And, obviously I give my advice on what I think, but to actually be the one making those decisions, is obviously going to be the biggest change. And not even to mention what it's going to be like during the games. So, we'll see how it goes in games. But I've learned, had the opportunity to learn from Coach Malone. Obviously the last 10 years here in Denver, a couple years in Sacramento. I worked with George Karl for a couple years in Denver. And there's been a lot of other, assistant coaches that I've worked with that, have gone on to be head coaches in the NBA. And so just to kind of have learned from all of them, even as a player, I go back to, how Dan Issel did things, how Jeff Van Gundy did things. And so just trying to learn from as many people as I can, and hopefully I can, carve out my niche, put it all together, and see what happens.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, I mean, do you have a favorite memory from being with the Nuggets over the last couple of years? I have a feeling it might be that championship in 2023, but maybe is there something else that you're always going to really hold close and dear to your heart from your time
No,
there?
no, winning that championship, it was so special,
Yeah.
not just to me, but to my entire family.
Hmm.
My wife and three kids have been through it. I've missed a lot of activities, a lot of sporting events, over the years when, their middle school and high school years. And I really felt like that was a reward to them when we won it. And then, them being in the parade and seeing them on the fire trucks and stuff like that it was such a special time. It was an amazing season. I missed my daughter's college graduation that year. I missed one of my son's high school graduations, what happened to be that year. And it was we just kept winning. And it was like, all right, sorry, I can't make it down there for graduation. And they all understood. And I think, so like I said, that the celebration at the end of that was really, I just was really, really proud of that moment, for them kind of all these years as a player and a coach, finally getting to that point was really special.
All right, awesome stuff. Well, Coach, I hope you realize that we did do a little bit of digging into your playing career as well before we did this interview. And I want to point out a stat. I want to see if you remember. Do you remember your career high in scoring? Do you remember who you were playing against, or maybe even what year that happened, or even what that number was?
Yeah, I scored 18 points twice. I
Mhm.
scored against Dallas and Seattle, I believe. Uh,
Yes, correct.
and they both happened to be in the same week. I think they were within a week of each other. And then I don't think I scored double figures the rest of the season, but I do remember both of those games pretty
Yeah.
well. In fact, the first game, the Dallas game, I think all my points were in the second half. I didn't score the first half, and I had 18 points in the second half. So,
Yeah, no, exactly. A hot stretch for you, Coach. There.
and they were
I
all
guess.
layups. They were all
Yeah,
layups,
right.
outside shots.
Hey, that's the hardest shot to make. I think anybody that's actually picked up a basketball will tell you the pressure's on when you're that close to the basket.
I know.
Um,
That's a good
and
point.
I think on the NBA level a little bit. I mean, I would love to ask you and kind of pick your brain about that. I mean, how hard is it really to score 18 points in an NBA game? You see all these guys scoring, 30, 40 points a game sometimes, but that 18 points for you, I mean, how difficult was that? And just in the grand scheme for us watching the game and everything like that, I don't think we ever truly realized just what you guys are really doing out there on the court.
It is amazing how easy some players make it look. You see the guys that, average 30 points, and man, how did they make it look so easy. And then for a guy like me to get out there, scratching and clawing just to score a basket, it's tough. It's really hard. I was, offensive rebound putback. I was running the floor. Let's try to get a steal, get a layup. Obviously, I don't think I ever had a play called for me in my illustrious career. It was all doing the little things, and that's kind of how I made my niche. Diving on the floor for loose balls, like I mentioned, offensive rebound, steals, those type of things. But yeah, I remember that little stretch that I had, and I'm like, oh, maybe this isn't so hard after all. And then when I didn't get there again, I'm like, okay, it is really hard.
Right, right. But you still have those great memories of actually doing it. So,
For sure.
Coach, before we let you go, absolutely got to ask you, kind of going into this upcoming season, your first time at the head coaching helm for the Grand Rapids Gold. I mean, what do you really hope to accomplish in that first year? I mean, you touched on it. Kind of how fans react to the Gold. They show up, they cheer on the team. It's always a great atmosphere. What do you really hope to bring to this team and this city in that first year?
Well, I think it's a fine line. Obviously, winning. Everybody wants to win. Everybody wants to come watch a winning team. And I think for me personally, and for us as an organization, a lot of it's development, right? We got to develop our young talent, and we got to put them in position and opportunity for them to be able to go help the Nuggets. So if a guy gets sent down to us and we get him his reps that he needs, and if he's called upon to play, he's able to play. Spencer Jones last year is a great example. I know he played for the Gold. He had some injury problems, but towards the end of the year, we had a game. A bunch of guys were hurt and banged up, and we brought Spencer up and we played him. I think he played 12 to 15 minutes, and he did a really good job. But he was ready because of the work he had put in with the Gold. And I think the ultimate goal for the developmental league is to get guys called up. And I know the last 2 years, there's been two different guys from the Gold called up, to get two-way contracts. And I think that's really the ultimate goal, right? We want to develop talent. Obviously, we want to win games, but I think I'll be happiest, most excited this year if one of our players gets plucked from us, to an NBA team, whether that's the Nuggets or somebody else. I think that's when you'll truly, I think, feel like, hey, man, we made it here. We make an impact on these guys' lives. Obviously, like I said, we want to win games. We want to give the fans a show, and hopefully we'll do a lot of that as well. But I think the development aspect of it is huge, and hopefully we can do a good job with that.
All right. Well, awesome stuff. Well, Coach, again, it's such an honor getting the chance to talk to you. Good luck this upcoming season, and hopefully make it out to Grand Rapids soon. Check out some of the fun things we have in store for you. But again, thank you so much for stopping by today.
Appreciate it. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely.